Hello everyone and welcome to another video for Case Me a Christmas Card. Today my guest is Lydia Fiedler and no, I haven't done a gel press card, which is really surprising because whenever I think of Lydia I think of gel press. So today I am going to be starting off with this die, which is from the 'Tis the Season set by Uniquely Creative, and what I'm doing is I'm actually creating a stencil and I'm using a piece of Yupo to do this. So I actually have a confession to make. I actually started making this card twice because the first time I did it I used just masking paper to make this stencil with, and after a few goes with it, the edges just kept rolling up and I got really fuzzy edges on my stenciling. So I thought that's not going to do. So I thought I'll cut it from some Yupo, which is going to be a little bit more or less likely to roll up on me as I stencil these leaves. So the card that I am casing today uses Lydia's Holy Trinity of colours, so basically yellow, magenta and cyan. So the colours I'm using are lemon yellow here. I'm using Hero Arts shadow inks here, which are dye inks. And I'm just making sure that I have the stencil clean before I move on to my next colour. You can see that the colour has actually taken up onto the Yupo, but it's not going to rub off now that I've cleaned it off. And then I'm going to be using bubblegum ink. So instead of using a sort of red, I'm using this hot pink colour instead. And then the last colour I'm going to be using is soft pool. So as you would have seen from the video, I added some pixie spray to the back of my homemade stencil so that as I move it, mainly because that middle bit, sort of V shape in the middle of those two leaves, I thought that might move on me, so I thought it might be easier if I use some pixie spray. But then later on, because I am impatient and I didn't let the pixie spray sit for long enough before I used it, I got a little bit of residue from the pixie spray onto my card base, so I had to go in with a white eraser to just get rid of that residue. It doesn't take much, it's very easy to remove, but you just need to be aware of it. Alright, so now I'm moving on to my third colour. So this is the soft pool, and I'm using my life-changing blender brushes from Picket Studios to do all of this ink blending. And I'm not trying to get sort of a darker colour on one side of the leaves compared to the other. I'm just trying to get a really sort of simple all over colour on these leaves. And I'm trying to create basically a border at the top of my card and at the bottom of my card. And when I show you Lydia's card, you will see that she actually used a black sentiment, which was originally my plan, but yeah, plans don't always have to happen. You can always change your mind, which I do frequently when I'm making cards. All right, so at this point I was just looking to see, right, are there any spots that don't have enough pink, that don't have enough blue, that don't have enough yellow, and just going in again with some of those colours in spots that I thought needed just a little bit extra in a particular spot. Like here in the bottom right, I add a little bit more pink. And then over on the left-hand side as well, just a little bit more pink. I quite like that pink. And in the top as well, just a teeny tiny bit there. And then I was done. All right, so that's my stenciling pretty much done. So let me show you the card that Lydia made. So Lydia's leaves were actually made from a pre-made stencil, but the stencil was not meant to be leaves. So if you go and check out her card on her blog or on her Instagram, you'll be able to find out what she actually used to make those leaves. And you can see that she used black sentiment. She also added some glitter for the berries on the right hand side of her card, and she added some sort of mod looking veins on her leaves as well. So I decided to add them as well. But you might have noticed that her card wasn't a one-layer card, and neither is mine going to be. I actually planned on putting a black sentiment on this card, and I actually cut this particular die out of the black glitter cardstock from Hero Arts. I put it onto the card and it just looked wrong. It completely overwhelmed the leaves because the leaves are quite pale in colour. The really chunky sentiment, this die, just overwhelmed it. If I'd stamped a sentiment, it might have been a little bit better, but I really didn't have a sentiment that fit the space that I had. So I changed my mind and went with the white glitter cardstock instead. Sorry my head gets in the way, but I had to make sure that all of my letters in the sentiment were lined up nicely, and it still wasn't lined up nicely, so I'm just nudging it. That's a really good thing about using liquid adhesive, because you can move things around and try not to do what I just did, which is just move it too much and the letter just went skew if right off. But I managed to get it back into place, so it's all good. All right, so now I've got out this red gel pen that has been in my desk for maybe 20 years, and it didn't actually work very well, so I had to try over and over again to get lines out of it. Now I also found this copper glitter cardstock from Hero Arts. And I wanted to add some holly berries to go with Lydia's card, but I didn't want them to be really taking centre stage. I wanted them to sort of sit in the background. So in the same die set as the leaves that I used, it has these 3 holly berries with an outline, so I just used the outline. And I think that worked quite well with that copper coloured glitter cardstock. All right, so I'm just making sure I get glue, trying not to get it all over my fingers, but failing abysmally, as I always do. And I'm going to chop off the excess around the edge. Now, before we go, I just want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, because I didn't finish there. But this card is finished. So I hope you enjoyed watching me make this card, and I'll give you a bit of a close-up on it, and you can see again I'm going back in to just get rid of some of the residue of that pixie spray that I used to stick down my homemade stencil, and then the card front is nice and smooth. But I had the leaves that I'd cut out, so I actually made this second card really quickly using the leaves as a mask. So I used a whole lot of different green inks. I used a berry stamp from Altenew and a sentiment from Altenew as well. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.